This edition of defenceWebTV is proudly brought to you by Omnigo, your preferred electronics manufacturing services company. In this program, drone wars and what this means for the South African defense industry. How will the newly established Border Management Authority achieve its mandate? But first, how crucial is the South African defense industry to maintaining South Africa's sovereignty?
Look, it is pretty crucial for two reasons. I mean, basically, you can do it with all important equipment if you want to, but our geography is quite different to the countries that have most of the defense industry worldwide. So we have slightly different requirements in that respect. Vehicles is one, longer distances off-road, which say the European countries don't have. So you want a patrol, you want a vehicle that'll survive. I mean, even the Marguerite Deutz trucks that we initially had in the army for gun tractors, for instance, found the African environment a little tough. So that's one issue. But the other real issue is, if you're going to spend money on equipment for your defense force or anybody else, why would you want to import it if you can make it yourself, within reason? If you make it yourself, you're keeping hard currency inside the country, you're employing your own people, you're expanding the skills base. If you import, what you're actually doing is exporting hard currency and jobs. But the real issue is money. At the moment, the defense force cannot even do the minimum sovereignty stuff plus vital external interests. So that would be our borders, our airspace, our maritime zones, including Marion Island, and vital interests, Mozambique. Basa, the gas fields, the Mozambique Channel, to an extent Maputo Port. We can't do that. We sink or swim with at least Southern Africa, if not Sub-Saharan Africa. That's potentially our most profitable market, because we're the only manufacturing economy in the region. We haven't got the aircraft, we haven't got the ships. The army, in fact, hasn't got enough troops. Every time Treasury wants to cut the manpower bill, excuse me, guys, where? I can chop some out of the Navy and out of the Health Service and out of DHQ and LOG and so forth, but not as many as I actually need additional to what the Army has today. So, sovereignty is the fundamental thing that armed forces do. Ours isn't funded to do it.
Drones have taken center stage in the theaters of war across the globe. This includes crude but effective foldable cardboard drones laden with ordnance we see deployed in the Ukraine, to highly sophisticated UAV platforms packed with technology spanning a vast array of applications. It's a growing industry with increasing demand. Milkor, well known for various products and innovations in the defense industry, is responding to this demand in a big way, literally and figuratively. How big is the opportunity for industry players like Milkor in the drone space globally?
When we started off with this project, it was quite important that we assess what the global opportunities look like. And we quickly determined that there's only a handful of countries and companies that have successfully started the development of such a huge UAV as the one we have made, and that have completed it and actually flown it. So the demand globally for UAVs are on the uptick. And I think that they are more commonly used in warfare scenarios. Being part of a handful of companies and countries, therefore, that could make use of these systems and supply them and support them is a tremendous opportunity for us, and it opens a few doors across multiple different continents.
You mentioned a little bit about how the scope for growth in the African continent can be quite an interesting and exciting aspect. Is this something that you've looked at as a business to say, this could be something we could roll out to our other African brothers and sisters?
Yeah, it's exactly one of our primary targets, actually. I think one thing that I have realized in all of my engagements with end users from African member states is that Africa is very often looked over by major international role players when it comes to first world technologies and capabilities. I think in terms of after-sales support, the African countries that have procured very advanced systems have drawn the short end on after-sales support, especially with ongoing conflicts in Europe and now in the Middle East as well. So one thing that we have identified is that as a South African company, understanding the African landscape and how the way business is done, it is vitally important for us to structure our entire solution in such a way that it looks at long-term operational readiness rather than just capabilities. We have a very good product, and we are quite confident that our product can compete with most of the role players around the world. But I think what makes us and gives us an edge is the fact that included in our system, already embedded into it, is the evaluation and assessments needed to foresee long-term after-sales support and operational readiness as well.
There's a lot of excitement about your new product. What do you think underpins that excitement specifically?
I think the fact that it's just something new that the general public and the defense industry as a whole, especially on the African continent, is not really very familiar with. South Africa has a rich history of using unmanned aerial vehicles in the long term, but for a while it has actually been quite stagnant. And I think since the 1980s, maybe for about the last 20 years, there's not been a lot of new developments that came around. And we saw many first world countries and many well-developed defense forces enhancing their capabilities in the unmanned aerial industry. And I think one thing that then makes an underlying excitement is the fact that South Africa also now has the capability to also innovate and lead in the unmanned aerial vehicle sector.
We need to find unmanned solutions because there's obviously also costs attached to it, not just the danger aspect to it. What do you think the thinking behind this should be for defense contractors?
If you look at our UAV system, for example, the operational endurance is 35 hours, and there's no chance that a manned pilot could be able to fly continuously for 35 hours. So therefore, it actually decreases your costs quite a lot. But it also, the main benefit, I think, is the fact that you have real-time information continuously, and it helps you make informed decisions on what would be the best strategic approach or reaction during any operation.
Do you see what you're doing as keeping South Africa at pace with the rest of the world?
I think Milkor as a company are not able to do that on our own, but I do feel that we play a role in that. And I think it is most of the industry's role players' responsibility to look at where potential markets might be and look in specific areas and the solutions provision that could benefit the South African defense industry as a whole and also benefit the skills build-up that we have within the country. I think private companies at the moment are thriving purely because we have good products and good skills within the country still left, and the market for those equipment still exists. I think the way that we utilize it is vitally important. So yes, I think Milkor as a company are trying to lead in that sense, but I don't think it's solely responsible just on us as a company. I think that there are many good companies that have a specific role to play in the actual capability within the defense industry.
Following on from that, do you think that the defense industry as a whole could be a really good job creator for highly skilled individuals in South Africa and across the continent?
I 100% agree with that. I think that one thing that is very important is the fact that if we look at skills within the country and we looked at previous experience skills that have been lost to countries like the Middle East and Europe, for example, new prospects for new graduates are quite slim. And the defense industry is not really considered all that much. Now, with the innovations of newer technologies, it opens up a completely new door and a new variant of application, the type of work that you would perform as an engineer, for example. Not necessarily having to go into the agriculture or mining sector, but considering the defense as a viable option to build a career in. And I think that with programs such as the UAV that we are doing, the Milkor 380, and many other projects that I know of within the South African defense industry that are currently being developed, it is important that we get the word out to graduate engineers and also make them well known that these projects are there and they are available, and the continuation of them also then benefits in the long term. The retention of skills within the country and also the enhancement of capabilities within the country.
The newly established Border Management Authority has a massive task ahead, but how will it achieve its mandate?
So whether the Border Management Agency has the capacity or not, I think in theory they have. Whether that in practice is the same at this point in time, I don't think that is the case. The question arises, you have illegal migration, which is predominantly the mandate within that sits within the Home Affairs. You have illegal goods smuggling, and that's a mandate that sits within SARS. You have illegal activities, criminal of nature, that's in the border environment. Now, whether that's borderline or at a border post, that resides within the police function. Now, if this culmination of mandates that now currently sits within the border management framework is not managed correctly and mature enough to be handled correctly, you've got a few challenges on your hands. Also, how are these, for instance, transgressors? How are they going to be prosecuted? Is it the Immigration Act? Is it under criminal prosecutions? Is it under the flaunting of the Customs Act? So I think there's a few tricky parts, and the only way to deal with the maturity of this legal framework would obviously be to be tested. And we can speculate here. Until it's tested, we will not know whether that the legal framework is sufficient and mature enough to basically deal with the respective transgressions that happens both on the borderline as well as in the port of entry. I think the Border Management Agency, for that matter, lends itself to the perfect vehicle to achieve a few things. One of them is the public-private partnership with the defense and note the related industry, as a lot of the technologies that's developed within the defense industry is for not just defense use, but also security, as well as commercial use. And therefore, we always reference to it as dual-use technologies. That's the one part of it, and then obviously the subsequence of such a relationship, a typical public-private partnership, would also blow some new steam into this ailing defense industry.
This edition of defenceWebTV is proudly brought to you by Omnigo, your preferred electronics manufacturing services company.